Going over to the political part podcast, you have Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett grilling a Trump administration. This brought to us thanks to America Pop Bear. And shoot, this is probably retweeted and tweeted by 100 plus people. But he had the most interesting profile picture, and I follow him, so give him a shout out. American Pop Bear says, quote, breaking news, Justice Amy Coney Barrett grills the Trump administration after they slammed rogue activist judges' national injunctions. Who else thinks Amy Coney Barrett is compromised? Without too much further ado, this is up credit to CNN, which is somehow still in business. I can't fathom how it's possible that they're financially viable, but they somehow still are.
Opinions and judgments here. Did I understand you correctly to tell Justice Kagan that the government wanted to reserve its right to maybe not follow a Second Circuit precedent, say, in New York, because you might disagree with the opinion?
Our general practice is to respect those precedents, but there are circumstances when it is not a categorical practice, and that is not
this administration's practice or the longstanding practice of the federal government. And I'm not talking about in the Fourth Circuit, are you going to respect a Second Circuit? I'm talking about within the Second Circuit. And can you say, is that this administration's practice or a longstanding one?
As I understand it, longstanding policy of the Department of Justice. Yes, that we generally, as it was phrased to me, generally respect circuit precedent, but not necessarily in every case. And some examples might be a situation where we're litigating to try and get that circuit precedent overruled and so forth.
I'm sorry, the title is Justice Kagan asked Trump administration if the position could mean that every person affected by executive order would have to sue.
Well, okay, so I'm not talking about a situation in which, the Second Circuit has a case from 1955 and you think it's time for it to be challenged. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in this kind of situation. I'm talking about this week, the Second Circuit holds that the executive order is unconstitutional, and then what do you do the next day or the next week?
Generally, we follow those.
So you're still saying generally?
Yes.
And you still think that it's generally the policy, long-standing policy of the federal government to take that approach?
That is my understanding.
Okay, so, but it sounds to me like you accept a Cooper versus Aaron kind of situation for the Supreme Court, but not for, say, the Second Circuit. Like where you would respect the opinions and the judgments of the Supreme Court, and you're saying you would respect the judgment, but not necessarily the opinion of a lower court.
And again, I think in the vast majority of instances, our practice has been to respect the opinion as well, in the circuits as well, but my understanding is that has not been a categorical practice in the way respect for the precedents and the judgments of the Supreme Court has been.
So you're not hedging at all with respect to the precedent of this court?
That is correct. I believe the quotation from our application directly addresses that, and we stand by that completely.
Okay.
Why she sound like a Starbucks barista? Now, again, this pretty viral, well, not this individual post, but it's posted hundreds of times. Got about 50,000 likes as well as 2.2 thousand likes, 46.6 thousand views and 2.2 thousand likes. Well, the first comment comes to us thanks to Elizabeth Tino saying, quote, I think she is. Her and Roberts have been compromised in some way. I don't recall any Scottish justice being in the news like this or voicing an opinion. It's always known them to be 100% quiet or neutral. If anything is constitutional crisis, I think this is. Gained 41 likes, and Papa Bear says, quote, they 100% have something on her, gained 21 likes. Yep. FAFO, the first says she needs to be investigated, gained 23 likes. Finance Reb says, yes, she's a terrible choice, gained 5 likes, 6 likes now. Melissa Altman says, Barrett seems to be a deep state plant. Maybe. Frank says, yeah, something seems off with her recently. Yeah. Linda Matthews says, compromised, bought, or phony to begin with. I'm not sure what she is. She is definitely not an impartial judge who only interprets the law. Game 4 is making 5 likes. And again, interesting thing with Republicans or rhinos, I swear, no one's more disappointing. They say that I'm so irate they haven't repealed the NFA Act of 1934 that forces us to pay a $200 extortion tax if you want to buy some of our constitutional rights like short-barreled rifle, short-barreled shotguns, destructive devices, or machine guns on top of the sales tax. It's also ridiculous, but yeah, let's just say the rhinos are disappointing left and right. Some Republicans are rhinos. But yeah, she seemed, look at her, her track record, everything seemed right. And after they overturned Roe vs. Wade and the violence from the leftists, I think she's either compromised or she's scared for her own life and being a coward. And she's just doing whatever the leftists want because she knows people on the right don't riot or do anything. But people on the left will actually show up to the justices' houses, and they have, to threaten them and cause vandalization and damage. Claudia also says she's not compromised. She's just a neutral piece of shit and always has been. I don't think she's neutral, but that got 8 likes. Eddie says at this point, everyone knows it, gained 4 likes. Sean McKinnon says she's scared from her confirmation the left did terrorize her family, gained 6 likes. Ironically, the party of peace and tolerance is always the one that has causing all the ruckus, all the violence. You also have Steve Monas saying, quote, looks like Justice Barrett's robe is a little too tight around the bias. Maybe she needs to be a reminder that the Constitution is a suggestion box for the left. Time to serve some real justice. Getting 6 likes. Sorry, I meant to say the Constitution is not a suggestion box for the left. We also have Michael Tex says, I'm not sexist, but here's the thing, which is kind of funny when people have these prefaces. One of my favorite is an old mentor of mine used to say, everything before the but is bullshit. And it's like, I'm not a fan of the Bears, but they're awesome. Granted, no one would ever say that because the Bears suck. But nevertheless, Michael Texas says, quote, I'm not sexist, but here's the thing. Never put a woman in a position of authority when it comes to politics or courts. Women have great tendencies to make decisions based on their emotions, which, yeah, that's also kind of true in terms of the emotion. Men and women both have their strengths and weaknesses. Implicit truth says, quote, they're trying to lose legitimacy and unrightly usurper almost 100 years ago. Good. SCOTUS is never supposed to be issuing rulings, only opinions. As we all know, opinions can be ignored. Getting 6 likes as well. So a couple contrarian or interesting comments. And again, one of the most disappointing Supreme Court justices, I would argue, for decades. Granted, it's pretty low. Well, I'd say it's a pretty low bar with a lot of the lame appointees. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.